In the early 90s, CD-ROMs burst onto the scene, starting first with computers and then actually moving to consoles. Of course, with it became larger asset sizes as well as increased load times. See, the medium of actually getting data off of a CD-ROM was much slower than cartridge counterparts were for earlier game systems. This means for the first time in history, game developers were actually forcing users to stare at a very, very boring screen that just told them content was loading. This, of course, was because the assets took time to get into memory and they weren't being streamed off of disk fast enough. More importantly, game developers didn't really have the proper knowledge of how to work around this problem. Most of the architectures back then were single-threaded, which meant all of the file I/O was actually synchronous or blocking. So they had to come up with very, very tricky mechanisms to load data and render that little UI. Now, for grits, we run into the same problem. If a user's on a very, very slow connection, it's actually going to take a lot of time to stream that data in. For our purposes, we actually employ an asynchronous asset loading methodology, which means we can actually render things to the screen while actually pulling data in from the net. And that's what we're going to talk about here in just a bit.